So, having taken you through the second question of the question paper of English Core for class 11, question number 2, which is note making and summarizing, and having discussed the different elements that do not form a part of notes and summary, we now move on to section B and C, question numbers 3, 4, 5 and thereafter. So this particular brief presentation is about familiarization regarding the course content of section B and C, which actually is advanced writing skills and grammar. So in question number 3, which carries 4 marks, you have notices, which you have been doing since class 8, I believe. You have advertisements and posters. Advertisements might be a new concept, and I believe drafting posters is also what you are already familiar with. Now, in this particular brief presentation, first I'll take you through the course content. This is question number 3, notices, advertisements, posters. The word limit is 50 for any of these items, of which any 2 would be asked and you'll be answering any 1. And question number 4 is letter. These are mainly business letters. Only business letters or formal letters are there in course. Articles are there. Speech, debate on contemporary topics are there. And question number 6, which is section C, actually. Grammar, which comprises section C. Question number 7 onwards, I'm not sure, perhaps, is grammar. And grammar, basically, this is what the revised course content that the CBSE has given. The grammar portion that you'll be tested on comprises determiners, tenses, clauses, modals and change of voice. Again, here determiners and modals are what you're already familiar with. You did that in class 9th and 10th. Tenses, clauses, tenses again you're growing up with, and clauses is what we'll strike a familiarity with in the slides in the slides that follow. And in addition to this, there'll be reordering of sentences and transformation of sentences, which we'll familiarize ourselves with. And whether it is determiners, tenses, clauses, modals or change of voice, they'll all be assessed by way of error detection, by way of editing tasks and closed passages, which you are already familiar with in classes 9th and 10th. Now we come back to question number 3, which is the first question of section B. Section A, you already know, comprises comprehension and note making. The first thing is notices. Again, notices is one test item that you are already familiar with, that you've been drafting since class 8. Advertisement might be a new concept. Advertisements is what I plan to take up in this particular slide. Now, before we move on to advertisements by now you are already familiar with, is a mode of commercial promotion. An advertiser, rather a businessman, advertises his products, promotes his products by way of advertisements. And to be in a position to face this or to tackle this question confidently, the one suggestion that everyone would offer would be to read live advertisements in different national dailies, especially Dehradun Classified, which is a compilation of a variety of advertisements. So once you strike a familiarity, once you go through advertisements, live advertisements, all right, only then will you look forward to attempting this question. And in addition to the newspapers that you subscribe to, for example, Dehradun Classified, which I said only is a promotional kind of a weekly, you will find that there are so many different types of advertisements. And before we move on to the kinds of advertisements, allow me to take you through one small piece of fact, and that is if you could tell me why I begin a letter to the editor. My first opening sentence is through the esteemed columns of your newspaper, I would like to draw the attention of the authorities concerned. What is the significance of the word columns here? You must understand that the meaning that we use the word columns with a reference to the news item printed in a newspaper, because news items, apart from the editorial page, news items, press reports are always in the form of columns. So we say through the esteemed columns of your newspaper. And advertisements again have one specific kind of advertisement again has columns of different kinds. So in a newspaper, in a national daily, we may have one page specially devoted to a certain kind of advertisements. And before we move on to this, you must understand that there are two kinds of advertisements. Classified. This is one. Classified is one kind of advertisement, the one that I highlight by way of darkening. Situation vacant is the head. This is a classified advertisement. We'll consider its characteristics. And there is another kind of advertisement which is called a display advertisement. This on this screen now, this particular piece of information that I'm highlighting is an example of an example of a display advertisement. Now there are differences between a classified and display advertisement. We'll continue with this. We will continue with this. So we come back to the fact that these advertisements are classified according to columns. Now these columns are headed differently. For example, you may have come across advertisements headed under the heading "To Let," "Vehicles for Sale," "Property for Sale," "Packers and Movers," "Travels and Tours." Now, "Kennel" and "Livestock" is another kind of advertisement, another kind of head that you must have come across. "Tuitions available," "House flat for sale," etc. So these are different columns. So in exams, you will come across a question which will ask you to draft an advertisement and will expect you to supply the relevant head. In order to be able to answer that, you will have to head your